Bestie, guess what Chief has promised to get me? The iPhone he promised me. Girl, I told you Chief will give you anything you wish for, not that your broke husband. I need to go and see Chief today so that we can talk. All right, I think you should start going before your husband finds out what's happening.
The rain was falling hard on the streets of Lagos when Grace made the biggest mistake of her life. She didn't know it yet, but everything was about to fall apart. Grace had been married to David for 5 years. David was a good man. He worked as a delivery driver for a courier company, waking up at 5 a.m. every morning to provide for their home. He wasn't rich, but he loved Grace with everything he had. He paid the rent on time, bought her food, and never raised his hand to her. But Grace wanted more. She had met Chief Emeka at a wedding in Victoria Island. Chief was older, maybe 50-something, with a big belly and expensive watches. He owned 3 businesses and drove a Range Rover. When he smiled at Grace that day, showing her attention and compliments, something inside her shifted. "You're too beautiful to be struggling," Chief had whispered to her, slipping his number into her hand. Grace took the number. She told herself she wouldn't call. But 3 days later, when David came home exhausted and fell asleep without talking to her, she dialed Chief's number. That was 8 months ago. Now, Grace was living 2 lives. During the day, she was David's wife, cooking his meals and kissing him goodbye when he left for work. But twice a week, she would sneak away to Chief Emeka's apartment in Lekki, where he showered her with money, expensive dinners, and promises of a better life. The person who encouraged this double life was Grace's best friend, Adana. Adana was single and bitter about it. She had watched Grace marry David and had smiled at the wedding, but inside, she was jealous. When Grace first told her about Chief Emeka, Adana's eyes lit up. "Grace, don't be foolish," Adana said, painting her nails in Grace's living room one afternoon while David was at work. "Chief Emeka has money. Real money. David is just a delivery man. What future do you have with him?" "But David is my husband," Grace said quietly, feeling guilty. "And?" Adana rolled her eyes. "Marriage doesn't pay bills, my sister. Chief bought you that gold necklace you're wearing. Has David ever bought you gold? Listen to me. Keep Chief happy. Maybe he'll even set you up with your own business." Grace wanted to believe she was doing nothing wrong. Chief made her feel special. He called her my queen and took her to hotels where one night cost more than David made in a month. When she was with Chief, she felt like she mattered. David noticed something was wrong, but he couldn't figure out what. Grace had become distant. She was always on her phone, smiling at messages she wouldn't let him see. When he tried to touch her at night, she would turn away. "Are you okay?" David asked her one evening. "You seem different." "I'm fine," Grace lied, not meeting his eyes. "Just tired." David wanted to believe her. He loved his wife. So he worked harder, taking extra delivery shifts, hoping that more money would make her happy again. Then came the day that changed everything. It was a Tuesday morning. Grace had been planning this for weeks. Chief Emeka had just ordered an iPhone 15 Pro Max for her, and a few days before, he'd surprised her by saying he was buying her a car. A small Toyota, but still, a car with her name on the documents. "These gifts are coming this week," Chief told her over the phone. "Come stay with me for a few days so we can celebrate properly." Grace's heart raced. A phone and a car. Adana was right. Chief really did love her. But there was one problem: David. Grace needed an excuse to leave home for 3 days. She thought about it carefully, then made her decision. She would lie. That evening, she cooked David's favorite meal, jollof rice with fried plantain. When he came home, tired and sweaty from deliveries, she served him with a sad face. "Baby, I have bad news," she said, sitting beside him. David looked up, concerned. "What happened?" "My mother called. She's very sick. She's in the hospital in Ibadan. I need to go see her tomorrow." David's face filled with worry. He liked Grace's mother. "Is it serious? Should I come with you?" "No, no," Grace said quickly. "You have work. I'll just go for a few days, make sure she's okay, then come back." David reached for his wallet. "Take this," he said, handing her 15,000 naira. "For transport and anything your mother needs." Grace took the money, guilt twisting in her stomach like a snake. but she pushed the feeling down. Chief was waiting for her the next morning. Grace packed a bag and kissed David goodbye. "I'll call you when I get there," she promised. David watched her leave, a strange feeling in his chest. Something didn't feel right, but he couldn't explain it. Grace didn't go to Ibadan. She went straight to Chief Emeka's apartment in Lekki. Chief opened the door in an expensive silk robe, pulling her into a hug. "My queen has arrived," he said, laughing. Come in, come in. Your gifts are coming today and tomorrow." Grace felt excitement rush through her body. This was the life she deserved. Meanwhile, at the courier company, David was looking at his delivery list for the day. His supervisor handed him several packages. "David, most of these are going to Lekki," his supervisor said. "Big deliveries today. An iPhone, and tomorrow you'll deliver a car to the same address." David nodded, loading the packages into his delivery van. It was going to be a long day. He didn't look at the delivery addresses carefully. He never did. There were always too many packages, too many stops. He just followed the GPS and delivered what he was told to deliver. The first address was in Lekki Phase 1. A fancy apartment building with security guards and clean streets. David parked his van and checked the package. iPhone 15 Pro Maximum recipient, Grace Okonkwo. David's heart stopped. Grace Okonkwo. That was his wife's name. His wife's full name. His hands started shaking. There had to be a mistake. Many people had the same name. This couldn't be his Grace. His Grace was in Ibadan with her sick mother. But something made David check the phone number on the delivery form. He knew his wife's number by heart. He had dialed it 1,000 times. It was her number. David stood there in the hot Lagos sun, the package in his hands, his whole world cracking apart. Why was his wife's name on a delivery to Lekki? Why was someone sending her an expensive iPhone? And why had she lied about going to Ibadan? His supervisor called him. "David, have you delivered that package yet? The customer is waiting." David's voice came out strange. "I'm going now." He walked into the building like a man in a dream. The security guard directed him to apartment 4B. David's legs felt heavy as he climbed the stairs. Each step felt like walking toward the end of his life. He knocked on the door inside the apartment. Grace was laughing with Chief Emeka when they heard the knock. "That must be your phone," Chief said, smiling. "Go get it, my queen." Grace practically danced to the door, excitement all over her face. She pulled the door open, already reaching for the package. Then she saw David. Time stopped. Grace's mouth opened but no sound came out. The smile died on her face. Behind her, Chief Emeka was walking toward the door, asking, "Is that the delivery?" David looked at his wife. Then he looked past her at the older man in the expensive robe. Then he looked down at the package in his hands, his wife's name written clearly on it. "David," Grace whispered, her voice breaking. "I can explain." But what explanation could there be? David had worked extra shifts to give her money for her sick mother. He had kissed her goodbye that morning, worried about her, loving her. And here she was, in another man's apartment, waiting for gifts that man had bought her. Chief Emeka reached the door and stopped when he saw David's uniform. "Oh, the delivery man. Good, good." Then he noticed the way Grace and David were looking at each other. "Wait. Do you two know each other?" David's voice was quiet, but it carried so much pain that even Chief stepped back. "This is my wife." The words hung in the air like smoke. Chief Emeka's face changed. "Your wife. Grace, you told me you were single." Grace started crying. "David, please, I can explain, please." But David just dropped the package on the floor and walked away. He didn't run. He didn't shout. He just walked away, his shoulders bent like an old man's. Grace tried to follow him, but Chief grabbed her arm. "Wait. You're married? You've been lying to me this whole time? Chief, please. Get out," Chief said, his voice cold. "Get out of my house. I don't deal with liars. And I definitely don't destroy other men's marriages." Grace stood there, crying, as both men rejected her in the same moment. She had lost everything. The next day, David moved his things out of their apartment. He didn't want to talk. He didn't want to listen to Grace's apologies. He just packed his clothes and left. Grace called Adana, sobbing. He left me. David left me. And Chief threw me out. Adana came over, but for the first time, she didn't know what to say. She had encouraged this. She had told Grace to chase Chief's money. Now Grace had nothing. Maybe you can talk to David, Adana suggested weakly. Maybe he'll forgive you. But David was done. He had given Grace his heart, and she had thrown it away for an iPhone and a car. A week later, something strange happened. Chief Emeka called David. They met at a restaurant in Ikeja. David didn't know why he agreed to meet the man his wife had cheated with, but something told him to go. Chief was waiting at a corner table. He looked older than David remembered, tired. I want to apologize, Chief said immediately. I didn't know Grace was married. I would never have touched her if I'd known. I'm many things, but I don't destroy families. David just nodded, not trusting himself to speak. Chief continued, I've been thinking about this situation. You seem like a good man. A hard worker. You didn't deserve what happened. He pushed an envelope across the table. There's $100,000 in here. American dollars. I want you to use it to start a business. Something better than delivery driving. You deserve better. David stared at the envelope, shocked. I can't take this. You can and you will, Chief said firmly. Consider it my apology for the pain I caused, even though I didn't know. Use it well. David took the money, tears in his eyes. Not because of the money, but because a stranger had shown him more respect than his own wife had. 6 months passed. David used Chief's money to start a logistics company. He was no longer just a delivery driver, he was a business owner. He hired 10 people. He bought 3 vans. His life was changing. Grace had moved back with her parents, broken and alone. She tried calling David hundreds of times, but he never answered. She had lost the man who truly loved her because she chased money that was never really hers. And then David did something that surprised everyone. He started dating Adana. It started when Adana came to apologize to him. She admitted that she had encouraged Grace to cheat, that her jealousy had poisoned her friend's marriage. She cried and begged his forgiveness. David saw something in Adana that day. He saw genuine remorse. He saw a woman who had learned from her mistakes. They started talking, then dating, then falling in love. David married Adana. It was a small wedding, nothing fancy, but it was full of real love. When Grace found out, it broke something inside her that was already cracked. Her husband and her best friend, the 2 people she had betrayed, were now together. Grace heard about the wedding from her mother. She sat in her childhood bedroom, alone, thinking about all the choices that had led her here. She thought about David's tired face when he came home from work, how he always smiled at her even when he was exhausted. She thought about how she had thrown away something real for something fake. The story spread through Lagos like wildfire. People talked about the wife who lost everything chasing another man's money. They talked about the delivery man who found out his wife was cheating when he had to deliver her lover's gift. They talked about the best friend who married the husband. But the real lesson was simpler than all the gossip. Grace had a man who loved her, who worked hard for her, who would have given her the world if she'd just been patient. But she let a friend with bad intentions convince her that money was more important than love. She let greed blind her to what she already had. Now David was successful, married to someone who appreciated him. Chief Emeka had moved on with his life. And Grace was alone, with nothing but regret and expensive memories. Sometimes in life, we don't lose people. We lose ourselves, and in losing ourselves, we lose everyone who ever loved us. Grace learned this lesson too late. The streets of Lagos kept moving, life kept going, but for Grace, everything had stopped that day she opened Chief Emeka's door and saw her husband standing there. Some mistakes you can't take back. Some lies you can't undo. And some loves, once broken, can never be repaired.